So wheat harvest is done. Me and Andy are spraying. I haven't really recorded any this morning, but we've already done 2 fill-ups. We're at a chemical, so I gotta go get chemical. But let me tell y'all something. I've been standing outside for about 30 minutes and I'm already drenched in sweat. It's hot, dude. This thick shirt, this thick Griggs Farm shirt is not helping me at all. But we're about to head to Helena. We got the old chopper truck we're gonna take. Had to grab a drink. Very nice whenever it's hot outside. I'll tell y'all one thing, I'm ready for winter time. I already know they're hating me every time I leave the house.
All right, now we're done with wheat harvest and we got a complete big clean out of our sprayer of all the Valor, the Metrobus and everything. We got to turn our attention, get all the rest of our crops sprayed. We'll start out with soybeans. Thought we was done with soybeans with all the rain that we had in June. Our pre-emergence have played out. Water kind of infiltrated down through the soil out of the active rooting zone, and we're gonna have a flush of weeds come through. So right before our beans canopy, we're gonna go out with Liberty, try and make sure we get them cleaned up. And then we got a lot of cotton we gotta spray. We gotta spray for weeds, we gotta spray pre-emerge, we gotta spray an insecticide on some of them for plant bugs. Yesterday we finally got done planting. We had some soybean variety trials to plant on our double crop soybeans, and we also got our corn maze planted. And I said, I'm done with planting. I'm fixing to pull this thing on the wash pad and we're gonna get it cleaned up and parked because I'm tired of looking at it. Well, then last night on the way home from the grocery store, I stopped in some of our first planted double crop soybean fields and didn't like what I seen. We might not be done planting yet, but anyway, I'm gonna hop on the razor. We're gonna go check all of our early planted double crop soybeans out and try and make a determination on exactly what we need to do. All right, down here on Fisher, this is where I stopped in last night and did a little walking around. I walked this whole area right here, and anyway, I don't like what I see. You got a few plants there, and then, I mean, we just don't have hardly anything out here at all other than a few scattered good rows. And then looking down through there, I mean, you can kind of row it, but I mean, there's some big skips. And it's like that over a lot of this bottom. I mean, it's not completely bare, but the little bit higher spots had come up, but then the spots that just a hair lower didn't come up. And there's a couple problems with this. One, the ground was pretty dang wet when we planted. That didn't help matters none, but I mean, we didn't have a choice. Second problem is that even though we planted this after our first rain out, we had, I mean, 2 more big rain outs, and we got a lot of rain. We got something like 5-6 inches rain total, whatever. And when the soil temperature is hot and it's muggy and it's humid and the soil just stays saturated, that's just not a good recipe for getting beans up. So weather is 100% the cause here. My hope is that, I mean, this is a low-lying bottom. I mean, it's gonna stay wet longer than the hills. My hope is it's just here in the bottom we got issues, but then we get on all the rest of the hills that we planted. I'm hoping it's going to be a lot better, because I think we got somewhere around 180, 190 acres planted before we got rained out all of that time. And last thing I want to do is have to replant all that 180, 90 acres. And then starting right about here, got really good stand of beans. I'm hoping it's just that corner back there. They're back in the spot. Ain't nothing here. You can see right through here where water flows to that pipe over there. Great stand. There's nothing right through there. Good news is that it's not going to be a total replant. Bad news is there's enough bare spots out here. We need to come out here and fill in some gaps, and that means changing our planter back over to soybeans, going and getting seed. And I have absolutely no idea how much seed I need to get, because this is going to be kind of like in cotton planting. We're going to drive over the majority of the field and drop the planter down in the bare spots, and I have no idea how many acres we need to replant. Up here on the hill, I mean, it's definitely looking a lot better. There's a couple bare spots, but it ain't too terribly bad. All right, over here on Campbell's home place, this was planted a day later than what Fisher's was, so closer to the rain. I don't expect it to be any better. But just pulling out here in the field, I mean, it's not looking bad. I mean, looking down through there, I mean, we can see a solid row all the way down through there. Even the inrows going right down through there, one of the wettest spots on the farm. I mean, I can see dang near a solid row all the way down there to the red barns. And like I said, this had less time in the ground before the rain. But yeah, we don't have a 100% picture perfect stand out here, but it is pretty dang good. It just makes no sense. Over here on Ed Smith's farm, I mean, looks like we got a pretty acceptable stand all the way across the field, but man, I'm having to look closely because look right down through there at that road. There's plenty of plants there, but it's hard to tell riding down because freaking deer have been out here and nipped out the tops, and I think that they'll put back out, but we got more problems with deer over here than we do seed not coming up. All right, we just got done scouting ants over there. Won't have to replant all of that over there, another 20 acres. Anyway, stopped out here some of my cotton. Want to show you what the cotton looks like. Yes, this right here looks like a grown-up mess. This is on the inrows. The county did a whole lot of work. This is where they put the sewers in, and they did a whole lot of work right here. Didn't have any cover crop right here, but then look, after we get out of the inrows and into the cover crop, that just shows you how much of a difference that cover crop makes in weed control. And primarily what we got coming up out here is just a lot of volunteer clover right now from our cover crop that went to seed. Not a big issue. We do have a few grasses and stuff popping up, but anyway, main thing I want to show you the state of the cotton crop. Now this is some of the cotton that we didn't replant, and it's finally found its legs and it's starting to get after it. In fact, getting after it enough, we got to start worrying about insects, because this cotton's already starting to set fruit. And anyway, right down there in the terminal, I know y'all can't see it, but there's a pinhead square. That means we got the first square on the plant, and it's about the size of a pinhead. Real hard to see. But anyway, it's already down in there. This cotton is quickly starting to go in reproductive mode, and that's why we got to worry about plant bugs, and that's why we're going to start spraying for plant bugs this week after Andy gets done with the soybeans, because the way our cotton crop looks, as late as it is, that first square, keeping it on the plant, making it into a horizontal bowl, is of absolute vital importance this year on trying to make as much yield as we can from this cotton, because I don't think we'll have the opportunity to set a whole lot of a top crop, because this cotton is delayed because of that miserable weather in May and June. So more of that early fruit that's down low on the plant that we can keep and set and making the harvestable bowls means more chances of money in our pocket. And right down through here, some of our replanting cotton in the same field. You can see it's definitely not far along, but I mean, it looks good. I have my doubts that it'll ever catch up with our older cotton, but it does look good. I just wish it was probably a solid 2.5 weeks ago when it looked like this. Then looking up here on the hard farm, I mean, you can row it, when you get down looking there, the stand is kind of thin. And there's not that many bare spots, but I think I need to come in here and I need to increase the population some, because double crop soybeans, they just don't have the time like full season soybeans do to compensate for low stand. You need the plants out here to make maximum yield, and I think we need to pretty much go over this whole farm and say drop maybe 90 to 100,000 seeds per acre to increase what we got out here. Anyway, let me get back to job, get the planter changed over, get Carter to go get some seed, because looks like I'm gonna have my hand full here for a couple days while Andy and Carter spraying.
It is doggone hot outside, but we are, let me fix my camera. But we are getting ready to spray our cotton. I've been spraying soybeans, the full season beans today, which is just 2 big old fields, about 200 acres. Yeah, now we're switching over to cotton. It's gonna be pretty much the same thing. I was just spraying Liberty on the beans, but now we're adding Roundup and imidacloprid for the cotton. So I'm gonna change my setup here. Imidacloprid, Liberty, and Roundup, and water. 15 gallons an acre. We're gonna go spray some cotton.
This has got to be what literal hell feels like. Whew. I don't know if I can take another 2.5 months of this. Anyway, we got the planter swapped over, the beans greased, filled up with seed, fueled up, deffed up. We got somewhere around 110 acres of beans to plant, so let's get this planting done with.
We got it filled up and headed to the cell phone tower farm, and I actually kind of want to show you guys that farm. It's come a long way in the past 2 years. Well, it's really only been like 1.5 years since we picked it up, but it's actually fun to spray now. I don't know if you can see all the water droplets on my windows. I was knocking out 2 birds with that stone with the water hose. One, my windows are dirty. Speaking of, I gotta turn my windshield wiper on. My windows are dirty, so I sprayed them off. But I also sprayed it off to cool it down in there. The AC's working, blowing cold, but it's hot. It's super hot. Even with tinted windows, it's hot. And I wore my white shirt. It's cotton colored cotton shirt, so I'm ready to spray some cotton today. Alright, made it over here to the telephone tower farm, which used to be like right in there, right in the way. Don't mind the cotton right here. It got run over a couple times. Yeah, it used to have a telephone tower here, some power lines there, a little shed, and a big ditch waterway that went through the middle, or not even waterway, it was just a swamp right there in the middle. I don't know if there's gonna be an old clip over here or not. Y'all have seen this farm before, and y'all saw us cut some beans on it, putting the cash crop out here this year, and I don't know if you could tell in the clips or not, but there were 1 or 2 big, pretty decent sized wet spots, and down here in this bottom, or little bottom neck, I don't know if you can see it or not. I can hardly see it, but there's definitely some bare spots and definitely some not so hot looking spots. There's a waterway, there's a pond right there on top of that hill, and there's a waterway that comes down and around and comes down through here. A little water runoff that we tried to kind of fix with the bulldozer, and I don't know if we just compacted it too much or if this bottom is staying that wet. Got a pretty good looking thing, but like right over there is a decent wet spot. I don't know why it's wet. The tower's set a little bit like right where I'm at right now. And you can see right in front of me up here, you can see my old tracks still. They got water in them. So hopefully it doesn't get too squirrely. Yeah, there's not even any, ain't even any cotton under there. It's just mud. Man. There's that big wet spot, that one right back there, and then there's another one a little bit that way. Whoa, shoot. And yeah, it looks like it's a little bit thinner on that hillside over here. I don't know really what to say about the crop, but hopefully it does a lot more growing before now, and we bring the old picker out here.
All right, we gotten over here, got a few acres under our belts, and I'm trying to do my replanting on my soybeans kind of like I did last year. We're wanting to minimize the damage to the beans that's out here just as little as possible. So what I did is I shifted my guidance line over about 10 inches, and it's putting that row unit right in the middle of the other row units. And we're planting our soybeans on 19-inch rows, so you can imagine there's not much margin for error. But it works really, really well, being that we're on RTK. But anyway, like I said, it works really, really well whenever we're on straight rows. Now, when we're on our curved rows and trying to do our in rows, it's not. I can't keep it right there in the middle. I can some, but we're doing a whole lot more damage to our existing stand on our in rows. So what I'm doing is, because we kind of got, we got some bad spots out here. We got some spots that's just kind of thin. And then we got a few, we got some spots that really don't need much added. Maybe a little bit on one or two rows. So rather than watching my normal map here on my screen, I've got it here on my rate control screen, and as I'm going down through here, I can see the rows pretty good, and I'm judging, hey, we got almost nothing here. We're putting out a full rate. I'm putting out 130,000 seeds per acre is a full rate, and then we go up the side of a hill, well, the stand picks up some. Well, we don't need 130,000 seeds here. We got a few out here, so then I'll bump it down to 100,000 right there. Then when we get on top of the hill, where I've got a pretty dang good stand, I don't really want to lift the planter up, because my tires are wide enough that I'm running over some crop. We need to put some seed down, so I'm cutting my rate back to 50,000 there. We don't want to get our crop too thick out here is what I'm trying to say. We want to definitely fill in the stand. We don't want to hurt what's already out here, because it's got higher yield potential. But we definitely want to fill in the stand a little bit. But we don't want to get it too thick either, because you get too many plants out here, your yield's going to go down also. So there's really no exact science to it or anything. I'm just trying to make the best judgment as I can on the fly. But anyway, I'm not going to do much filming of this replant tag. Y'all seen me in this planter enough this year, and I don't want to bore y'all, but just kind of want to give you a heads up on, hey, this is happening, this is what we're having to deal with, and this is how I'm handling it.
Oh my gosh, it's hot, very hot. I gotta do 7.5 gallons. I need 30 acres worth, so I'm doing 7.5 gallons of, all right, hold on. All right, so we're gonna put 7.5 gallons of that, 7.5 gallons of that in here, and then we're gonna do 144 ounces of that. I'm pretty positive. I got to double check on that. 7.5 gallons. I can tell y'all something, man, it's hot, and I'm ready for it to be winter time. I don't like this. My head's hot. All right, calls for 7.5 gallons. We got 7.48. Let's do a little bit more. Oh, all right, on the dot. 7.5 of that. Come on. Hey Andy, forgot to put the top on that black thing that holds water.
Well, I think we are finally about done with this planter for the year. We're working on our last couple of fields, just kind of driving around and you know, hitting a couple thin spots, but basically what I'm trying to do is find a good place to run out the rest of my seed. Don't have that much left in the planter, but I think I figured out what caused the replant. You know, everything that I've had to go over and replant was planted within a 3-day window. It started out on Tuesday and ended on Thursday with us getting a lot of rain, monsoon, Thursday night. Well, the worst stand came with what we planted on Tuesday, which was the farthest away from when it actually rained. That didn't make any sense to me. Well, then what we planted on Wednesday, kind of the middle of that period, I had to touch up a couple wet spots, but for the most part, it was just fine. And then what Kelly planted Thursday, it was just kind of really thin across the board. Had to go back and replant all of it, but I only added between 50 and 100,000 seeds per acre, because I mean, we had a stand. It was just a thin stand. And well, I think I figured out what actually happened. It was all due to the rainfall, but what didn't come up that was planted on that Tuesday came up for a different reason than what didn't come up on that Thursday. And, you know, as warm as the soil temperature was, you know, I'm getting beans up in 4 days. So that planted in on Tuesday should have been almost through the ground. You know, it should have already germinated and then been almost through the ground whenever that rain hit, and that's what happened. And what I think happened is that all that rainfall, you know, incorporated that stiff pre-emerge we put down, Zitrua and metribuzin, and activated it, and it interacted with that soybean seed that was just starting to come out of the ground and basically fried the plant. You know, that's the kind of thing you can see when using residual chemicals. If you get a heavy rainfall at just the wrong time, you know, there can be some interaction with the crop you're trying to grow, and I think that's what happened on the soybeans that was planted Tuesday. And then the soybeans that was planted on Wednesday, you know, they were already sprouted before the rain come, but they weren't so far along that the pre-emerge would affect them coming up out of the soil. That's why we got the best stand. And then the reason we got a thin stand on what was planted on Thursday was, well, those soybeans pretty much got pounded into the ground. They were just starting to sprout, you know, and a lot of them rotted before they could get fully sprouted. So the bottom line is rain was the root cause. However, the rain caused two separate things to happen, just depending on when those soybeans were planted. So anyway, we just about done planting. I'm ready to get off this plastic planter and wash it up and put it away from the shed. Carter and Andy getting close to getting done with spraying cotton on the first go around. Then they got to turn around and spray the second go around, but we'll cover that whenever they get started on it. Yeah, I know I said yesterday I was done planting. I'm ready to park the planter, but we're still out here planting. Not planting on any of ours though. I'm over here helping a neighbor get finished up. He's had a good run of bad luck and got about 100 acres left to plant soybeans over here, so offered to come over here and help. I was hoping to get some footage of Andy and Carter spraying cotton. They got done first thing this morning with the last spraying Liberty and Roundup over the top, and then they got started going back over the cotton again with just Warrant this time. And what that Warrant is it's a residual herbicide, you know, real strong on grasses, also got some pretty good activity on pigweeds. And we swapped up our pre-emerge chemical program in cotton a little bit this year just to try and get a better control on grasses, because the cover crops don't do quite as good a job controlling grasses as they do broadleaves and jungle rice and broadleaf signal grass and goosegrass. has become a lot bigger issue for us around the edges of the field. So trying to help mitigate that. But a lot of y'all probably think, oh, why didn't you just put the Warren in with your Liberty and Roundup that you sprayed yesterday, make one trip across the top with it? And that's just because we're trying to minimize adversely affecting the cotton. You know, anytime you put like dual or Warren, any of your metallochlors or acetylochlors out over the top of cotton, cotton can tolerate it, but it can burn it under you know, high humidity conditions, high heat, got a lot of soil moisture. It can burn the cotton. And then when you put it in with either Roundup or Liberty, or in the case of yesterday, Roundup and Liberty, you got all that surfactant in that's comes with a Liberty and Roundup. And you know, we're essentially getting double surfactant because we put both Liberty and Roundup together. So all that surfactant just kind of heats up that Warren on the cotton and can burn the cotton even more. So what we're trying to do is, you know, minimize damage to our cotton, go ahead and put our Warren and Roundup out, and then, you know, a day and a half later come back with Warren, and hopefully we won't see any kind of damage to our cotton. We won't set it back, because that's the last thing we need to do is burn our cotton at all and delay it, you know, injure it and delay it maturing by any amount of time. Anyway, this is the first time we've ever tried anything like that. You know, the past few years we haven't put out any kind of dual or Warren or anything like that. We've relied on the brake to get us by until we come by with our hoods, and the last couple of years that just wasn't working real well, especially on our inrows. We started having a lot of problems with grasses, so changing things up, lowering our cost a little bit, and hopefully it works better for us. So anyway, like I said, we got about 100 acres soybeans we're planting over here, and then I promise we will be done. There will be no more footage of the planter this year.